It's the #1 genetic killer of infants. Most kids that have SMA type 1 don't live past their 2nd birthday. So
How old is she now?
she just turned 1 in February. Jane was diagnosed with spinal muscular atrophy when she was just shy of 3 months old. Spinal muscular atrophy is a genetic disease that attacks the motor neuron cells.
SMA is caused by too little of a vital protein called survival of motor neuron, or SMN, in the spinal cord's motor neurons. Too little of this protein causes the motor neurons to die and the muscles they control to waste away.
Over time, all of the muscles in her body deteriorate. Her muscles to eat, her muscles to breathe, her muscles to move, her muscles to digest things. Every muscle in her body is affected by it. At birth, she seemed relatively normal, but then look back at pictures when she was a month and a half, 2 months old. Her arms were already starting to twist up. Her thumbs were like locked in. She had little to no neck strength. At her 2-month checkup, our pediatrician diagnosed her with hypotonia, or low muscle tone, and referred us to a neurologist at the University of Minnesota. They saw her clinical presentation. They also did a ultrasound on her muscles. He told us that day that he suspected that it was spinal muscular atrophy, and it was bad.
Long car ride home.
Yeah. Sorry. There's like a million things that could cause hypotonia, but SMA was like worst case scenario. I had read about it, but I just like kind of tried to block it out of my mind because I didn't want that. To be honest, we didn't leave the house for a couple days. We just tried to enjoy her as much as we could.
Do you have like a this isn't happening?
Oh yeah.
Like doubt or disbelief?
Big time. Like, why us? You know? I mean, she would need to be dependent on so many different machines, and it was terrifying. And we were like, how are we going to do that? Because neither one of us expected that, and obviously it would be a huge lifestyle change. And I mean, like right away, we were even looking at like handicapped vehicles or wheelchair. You know, like just like the cost of things was daunting enough. Not only, I mean, this is what our child is going to have to go through. Because nobody wants, I mean, you always want your kid to live the most normal life as they can. We just didn't know enough about Spinraza at the time, and they said there's a treatment for it, and it was so new that they basically couldn't tell us like a whole lot of things about it.
A revolutionary new drug is changing the lives of children with a rare and debilitating disorder known as spinal muscular atrophy.
This is Stella. She was born 7.
This home video documents the journey of Stella Bartlett.
It was a world of firsts. First baths.
From healthy newborn to a child losing the ability to walk.
As of today, Stella is confined to a wheelchair.
Ready?
All because of a disease called SMA, spinal muscular atrophy. Stella's parents have raised money to uncover a treatment for this disease. Now there's one on the horizon called Spinraza, and Stella's family is desperately awaiting its approval in Canada. Studies showed the drug, which is delivered by injection into the spine, not only halted the disease in some children, it reversed it in others, saving lives.
Obviously a very important outcome that further underscores the importance of having our patients get access to this drug.
Our team at the university are amazing, and they pushed things like so fast to get her on treatment, Spinraza. It was just approved by the FDA in December of 2016, and Jane was the youngest patient in Minnesota to be dosed at that time. 1 week after her official diagnosis came back after the blood test that we started Spinraza, and it has been a game changer. I mean, I can't.
Night and day difference. Now she's lifting her legs, moving her arms, being able to transfer toys to one hand to another.
What we learned is no matter what age they started, they never saw any regression from that point on. So at that point, we were like, you know, she's doing okay right now. Like, obviously she has a lot of muscle loss, but at the same time, she at that point wasn't in need of any machines or anything like that. So we're like, if we can just keep her from going backwards, this is going to be huge. We didn't really know a whole lot about how it would be delivered or how we would pay for it.
But for families coping with the illness, there's another challenge. The medication is one of the most expensive in the world.
Its maker, Biogen, recently set the U.S. price at a staggering $750,000 for the first year and about $375,000 a year after that for life. Terrifying for families.
It used to be we'd go to bed every night thinking about whether or not they're going to make a discovery. And now we go to bed every night thinking, when are we going to get it and are we going to be able to afford it?
Do you have insurance through your work?
No, we actually collect insurance through the state right now.
Minnesota's insurance is amazing considering, I mean, compared to other states. That's another thing we read about, all these like insurance issues, and we've been really lucky that Jane has been covered for a lot of things. I mean, before Jane was born, I was managing a bar and Bryant was working concrete. Now we raise labs on our own, so our insurance will be through us, not an employer. Okay.
I'm guessing when you went on Facebook to read about people who have children with SMA, you were surprised by how many there were. And
yeah, it's
how common actually SMA is. I mean, 1 in 40 people carry the gene.
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, so if you're in a restaurant, there's at least one person that carries SMA unknowingly. You know, Bryant and I had no idea that we carried SMA genes. Each person has 2 copies of every gene. So if Bryant and I are both carriers, so we have one affected gene and one normal gene, and so there'll be a 25% chance that our kids will have SMA. So we, by chance, gave Jane both of our affected genes, so she is affected.
there was no one in your family tree that you know of with it?
No.
Nope.
In either of your trees?
No. And that's why we opted out of genetic testing, because there was no red flags everywhere, and it was, or anywhere in our family, and it was like, why should we, and we're gonna love our child no matter what. So it's kind of funny to think, but we genetic test all of our dogs.
Oh, really?
Like, why wouldn't you do that to ourselves? But, and at Jane's birth, SMA wasn't involved in the newborn screening because there wasn't a treatment for it. Now Minnesota passed it. They were the 3rd state to add it to the newborn screening. It is so big for families that are newly diagnosed. The younger that they are and the earlier they start Spinraza, the better for the outcome.
Research is just so new on Spinraza that just no one knows the exact how far she's going to go with it. But from being on different support groups, we've seen other kids on this drug, and they've just gotten huge milestones. I mean, they're sitting up and some
taking their first steps,
walking with assistance. And
it basically has taken a disease that there was no hope in. You know, your child could live over 2 years old, but they would be 100% dependent on everything. They wouldn't be able to eat on their own, they wouldn't be able to talk, they wouldn't be able to breathe on their own, they wouldn't be able to move a single muscle in their body, but they'd still be alive.
More. Good job! You're so smart. That's more. Here you go. Yummy!
Sounds like a miracle.
yeah,
It is.
it really is.
I mean, it really is remarkable, and I thank God every day for the scientists who developed that. It's just amazing, the things that people are capable of, you know.
Are there any other countries that have this sort of
There
drug or
are
care?
some countries overseas that are starting to dose Spinraza, but it's really far and few between. And those like Facebook groups, there's people from all over the world, and it's so sad because there's people commenting like, I just wish and pray that we can get that someday, and it's just because of where they're located that they can't.
She is behind most other 1-year-olds?
Yeah, significantly. She has improved a ton, but most 1-year-olds are running around and eating independently, and
Or are the odds 1 in 4? if you two have another child.
Yep, it's a scary road to go down because obviously now that there's treatment, but you know, would you want to still treatment's a lumbar puncture? Would you want to put a kid through that? But it's also like 25% chance. Well, that's not that much, you know. So right now we're just focused on Jane and go from there. You talking? Yeah. Yeah? Yeah?